everybody. How's it doing out there? And how's everybody? And welcome to what's going to be kind of an odd show. Slavy can't be with us today. She's out walkabout doing a secret thing, actually. So watch the skies because they won't be fireworks. No, I'm kidding. But she's off doing a thing. And we've got a storm brewing. My lights have flickered a couple of times as we've started the show. So I don't even know if we're going to get a full show in. We'll see how it goes, and we'll hope for the best. Commander, how's things your way, buddy? What's happening?
Not a whole lot. Unlike you, we don't seem to have major weather brewing here, so
that's not
100 miles does make a difference.
Yeah, the hills and the mountains and stuff. It's like there's more distance than there is. The way we can get that separation. Johnny, how's it going? Oh, we don't hear you. You're muted.
My bad.
There you go.
Yeah, it's going great. Lots of sunshine where I am, so I'm just gonna push some your way so you guys get a bunch of good weather down there, and that storm is gonna be no more.
I hope so. Let's hope the show holds together. I'm kind of at a loss on how to even start things because Slavy usually does that these days, right?
This is the time, Slavy kind of throws us in the pool and figure it out, guys. We have to learn how to swim eventually.
Yeah.
She's done a lot for us.
Yeah, I'm well known for being able to herd cats, but I don't usually launch, right? So, Commander, any thoughts on what happenings and goings on and anything you'd like to get started with?
It's not directly related to Ukraine, but I still think it bears mentioning is the dog and pony show that occurred at Quantico this past week. And the stony-eyed response of the assembled flag officers to the dancing and shrieking imbeciles.
Commander, at one point I expected Steve Ballmer to come out and start running around, jumping up and down, doing developers.
Oh yeah, it's just insane. and you could tell that there was a very unreceptive audience to all this.
Yeah.
And while I know a lot of people would like it if, we had the flag officers commenting on how screwed up and everything they think the speech was, I do feel that it shows a lot of the professionalism that is still resident within the military, that they just quietly sat there, didn't show any obvious signs of, we think you're a jackass. And
I've seen this over there.
Yeah. But I think it was an interesting bit of visual.
Yeah.
Because that's really, I think, what the goal was all along by Trump and Hegseth, was to be able to stand there with them in the background going, yay, President Trump, and all this kind of crap. And then he didn't get what he wanted. And you could tell both of them were a little stunned that they were not getting the approbation that they were seeking.
Yeah. Yeah, because there was a few moments when Hegseth was obviously waiting for this guy's cool response, and he's just met with completely dry faces.
Yeah. His little teleprompter says, wait for applause. Chirp, chirp.
Yeah, exactly. And there's like some kind of weird stutter going on here. I just want to refresh a thing. There we go. I thought too, Commander, when Storm Norman Schwarzkopf's name was dropped, I thought to myself, you'd have been lucky had he not got out of his seat and snapped your little punk ass in half.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was interesting. You have Hegseth going first, and he's effectively acting as kind of the carnival barker to drum up, the enthusiasm, and he's not getting it. He speaks for about 20 minutes or so, and then goes off. And then the main event, the Orange God King shows up, and that idiot droned on for an hour and a half talking about
I'm careful when I walk down the stairs.
Oh, yeah, it's the dumbest stuff. It was just word salad dripping out of his shit-filled mouth.
Yeah. Oh, that whole
And
thing about...
they're all going,
yeah,
maybe we should stage a coup.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine being some multi-star general, admiral person, whatever, and you're sitting there thinking, I came halfway around the world to listen to this guy talk about Obama going down the fucking stairs? I mean, it's just, what the hell?
I think the issue is that Trump can never get out of campaigning mode.
Yeah.
Everything he says, everything he does is all focused with razor sharp clarity on trying to get people to like him.
Yeah, yeah.
And he has been playing to this kind of little enclosed bubble audience.
Mm-hmm.
And when he has to speak to a broader audience, he's kind of stunned that people don't like him.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
anyway.
Yeah.
Enough of that idiot stuff.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind to chime in on that as well.
Sure,
yeah.
And it's not necessarily not related to Ukraine and Russia stuff, because to me, as a Ukrainian, I came to United States and I love this country, and this was a great example of democracy, of how things work in a society where it's not uniform, where it's not one party, kind of like Russia, kind of like USSR, where I was born. It was very clear that Pete Hegseth and Trump are kind of used to like Trump rallies and to an echo chamber where they are always warmly recepted. But that's not the whole country. That's not the whole society that we have here.
Right.
And what was the silver lining, as Commander said, when it was met with silence and with professionalism, which goes against of what those people are doing on stage, it was such a vivid visual. Again, that's a great word that Commander used. It's like a visual exercise of, look what's going on. So bizarre, so unreal.
Yeah.
And it's so, like my take, it's so tightly related to Russia at this point. Somehow MAGA and Republicans are very plugged into the Russian propaganda. All of the Russian talking points that Russia is kind of working around and kind of trying out in their mouth and spewing, when the time is right, it all shows up on the mouths and billboards of MAGA and Republicans. Russia has been talking for a long time about civil war in United States. They've been trying to poke us, to divide us. To some extent, it was successful, right? But when Charlie Kirk died, immediately all those Russian talking points were on the mouths and faces of MAGAs. They all came out and said, of course, before they knew who the shooter was, they all came out and said all the things that I've heard from Russian channels months or maybe years before. And then people think it's something that originated right here. It's something that's the struggle of purely America. No, it's being greatly helped by our friends overseas.
Yeah.
The the thing that I find interesting is that since the speech, a number of officers have tendered their resignations.
Oh,
yeah, not a lot, just a few, but it's enough to let you know that these are people who just, I don't want to be part of this. You know, we're going to declare war on blue cities.
yeah.
And it makes sense. So.
That, I mean, there must have been a collectively in their heads, oh my God, when, you know, shouldn't we use these cities for, you know, military training?
Yeah.
I mean, you usually don't even use prisoners.
The National Guard deployed to DC, they were used for military training of cleaning up parks.
Yeah.
And that's a key and critical war fighting skill.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm glad that, you know, some people resigned, because that's a, you know, it's a clear indication of their stance. But I'm glad that not a lot of people signed, because even though we're in trouble, still that visual exercise showed that we are a democracy, that there are professional people, good people, still protecting our constitution. And I want them to remain at their jobs, at their posts, and keeping watch. So I'm glad those numbers were present, but they're not numerous at the same time.
Yeah. And before we end, can I just do no more fat guys in the military, okay? And let me introduce the president of the United States. Come on, what?
Yeah.
It's funny that the only thing that MAGAs are saying that's going for Pete Hegseth is his looks, and he really doesn't have anything else. So he was chiming on, like he didn't say no more drinking, you know. He didn't say no more repeating Russian propaganda. He went for the only thing that he kind of has just naturally. It's not even his.
I think Hegseth comes from that branch of American masculinity where drinking a lot and being able to hold your liquor is a sign of true manliness. So yeah, it's.
And if you figure that out, what that means is if you drink enough to have a tolerance that's high enough that you can drink a lot of alcohol, somehow that makes you a man. That makes you an alcoholic.
How dare you suggest such a thing?
After these words, how dare you say that it's not Russia related? That's such a Russian
There
thing.
are no drinking problems in the Russian military at all.
No,
none at all.
Yeah.
In fact, you know, Russia, they make up their own statistics. They don't go by the usual things, how it's done in the world. You know, when they if the statistic is not right, they fire the person or reprimand the person, and they say, let's wait for the next cycle of statistics until they learn what to do and how to say things right. So Russia is not even the heaviest drinking, according to official statistics in Russia. They're not the heaviest drinking country in the region, not even close.
That's why the recruits drain radiator fluid out of the
vehicle. They don't drink conventional alcohols. They drink like manufactured household cleaning goods. There's one very popular one where and sometimes they die, you know, because sometimes they're not real. It's not made for drinking. It says don't drink. But yeah, that's not taking into account when they count how many drunks are in Russia.
Yeah. So
on to exciting things about what's going on the front lines.
Yeah.
You want to lead off?
Johnny?
Are you talking to me? Are you talking to
me? How American is this fucking guy?
I'm Italian, dude. Anyway, so European Union looks like they are going to give the 140 billion of Ukraine's to Ukraine from Russia's frozen assets. They've been dangling that a long time, but looks like somebody's got the balls, and that might be happening right now. Commander, you've heard about this for sure, because that's a big thing that's happening.
It is. I think
And I mean, yeah. And to put that in perspective, since the beginning of the war, United States during Biden, nothing was given during Trump. During Biden, the United States gave 175 billion to Ukraine. During the same time, European Union gave 174 billion. And so 140 billion, that's a very good contender for, we can go 3 more years, 4 more years, whatever you want to call it. That's just today. To us, it's not the victory, it's not the end of the war, but it's a devastating blow to Russian propaganda. When they say that Europe is tired, they're ready to give up Ukraine. They don't want to continue anymore. They see the Russian way of viewpoint, not necessarily. And this kind of shows it and proves it. And it's not a good day to be Russian right now.
Very true.
Yeah.
I think Europe has realized that if they don't support Ukraine and Ukraine falls, then the next move the Russians make will be against some NATO state, and it will be a full-blown World War III situation. And nobody wants to go down that particular little driveway. So
damn right.
They're going to continue supporting Ukraine simply because, short of intervention, it's all they can do right now. Because the statesmen in Europe understand what's at stake.
The stakes are so high that you still have virtually everyone saying in their own minds would love to put some boots on the ground and help, but the threat of escalation and everything that could come from it and stuff is so absolute and strong that we're just going to keep funneling some money over. And
yep,
money eventually becomes not the biggest talking point, because first of all, it's not a lot of money. Like we know that Trump just increased the Pentagon budget just this year, $250 billion. So he went from 750 billion to 1 trillion for Pentagon budget, just 1 year. And it doesn't have anything for Ukraine. It has something for American cities, American blue cities. In essence, this money are present. Ukraine has proven that you don't need to send boots on the ground. We can do it all by our lonesome. And we just need a little bit of help, and it's reasonable help. Ukraine is not asking for like black caviar for soldiers.
right.
Russia has run out of ammunition with their 3 shifts working 24 hours a day. They've run out of ammunition. What do you expect Ukraine to still have everything with being bombarded with like drones, 1,000 drones per night flying in?
Yeah.
It's very reasonable. It's not a lot of money. Anybody can agree to this if it wasn't only for Russia meddling in everything.
Yep.
In politics, in bloggers, in information space, in newspapers, in radio, television, movies. They're doing heavy campaigns. And we have to talk about what just happened in Moldova. There was a huge election, huge for Ukraine, very bad for Russia. Russia spent $500 million influencing campaign in Moldova. They did not get the result that they wanted. Maya Sandu is still the president. Her party won 51% of the votes. Another party won a quarter of the votes, like 25%. And the third party, which Russia actually supported, they did win 24%. And it's a really interesting party. I I do want to share the graphic really quick. Basically, when Russia meddles in your election, they throw everything at you.
Oh yeah.
And it was done through churches. Churches are the first ones who are. All of the Russian churches are FSB agents. You guys have to know that. It's been that historically. They're all vetted through FSB channels, former KGB. They're all there for a reason. They're all promoted with a clear vision to support Russian agenda and Russian idea. So this image over there, it's for a that's the image of the party that Russia was supporting. If Mr. Dawson is going to be able to bring it up, you guys are going to find it hilarious. But this is actually.
There's a thing broken. Hold on. I'm just trying to get it to work. For some reason, it does not want to. Hold on. Go ahead, though. Keep talking.
Besides churches, Russia bought politicians, Russia bought bloggers, Russia bought people on the street with cash money. They found boxes, carton boxes with packs of euros and dollar, huge packs, 500 million of them. You have to understand. And yeah, look at that symbol of that party. And they're called they're always called something very harmless, like for unity of Moldova or for the greatness of people of Moldova. I don't even remember right now, but it's like something very. The name is something that everybody can agree on. And then look at that.
To those wonderful days of Soviet domination.
Yeah.
And when we look at this and how they lost, essentially they lost, but they still got into the parliament with 24%. Look at this visual, guys. They didn't lose just by accident. It took a huge effort on Maya Sandu's part. She did everything. She pulled all kinds of strings. She's the Iron Lady. What she did was just immense. She pulled together all the relevant politicians. She reached out to all the media outlets. She passed all the necessary laws to outlaw some of the Russian influence that was like last minute, because Russians are very brazen. If they cannot get into a parliament, they'll get into information space. If they cannot get into information space, they'll get onto the streets and they'll walk with signs and say like Maya Sandu doesn't listen to her people. Like we have to impeach her. If they cannot get into the country and they'll jump over the border. That's how they attack. It's a all out attack. And the work that she did, it was just incredible. A lot of European politicians praised her on this. They said like she did incredible. She's the Iron Lady of the modern times, basically, is what she did. And with all this being said, we have to be mindful that Russia is doing this in every single country on the planet that they can get in touch with. Anything that they think can help them win the war with Ukraine, influence politics in United States, anywhere in Europe, they're doing this everywhere. And as a warning sign, right now, there's a huge pro-Russian coalition with a similar message and similar kind of red star fighting for its way to the top in Czech Republic. So Czech Republic is next.
Somebody just mentioned them in the live chat. Unfortunately, the Czech Republic just elected a rotten apple today. So,
yeah,
that's a bummer.
We lost, or we're losing Czech Republic. So this is ongoing battle until Russia is as a one unit.
Yeah, it was Thomas Patterson. Okay.
Until Russia is a single unit, until they are defeated, they're going to pose threat to every democracy on the planet. They dismantle democratic institutions easily. It's like eating an apple for them. They found a way. They know how to deal with it. and our democratic institutions just cannot stand up. And we all, Maya Sandu, yeah.
I think there's the idea of Newsom's new way of dealing with social media as it relates to Trump is a lesson in this exact topic of conversation, because the hard writers use some really extreme stuff that gets the message through so that the people, like, you know, and I think the Newsom approach is getting a lot of attention, but still letting him have enough room to get some message through. And I think there's something to learn there. You have to understand how to work social media, not just be on it. You know, It's not enough to just be there. You need to employ people that have worked at successful social media influencer things and really know the formula to making a thumbnail that attracts and blah, blah. It's not enough to do. You remember when they did that little dancey video and they all did their little thingamabob or whatever? I mean, what was that, you know? But anyway, yeah, you know, it's, you know, you gotta compete on the message. Otherwise, the competition wins. That's how it works, right?
Definitely. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So that's the gist of it.
Yeah.
We have to fight. Democracy is very naked, very fragile, prone to attacks of Russia, which Russia has already put all their tentacles in, and they're sucking from every democracy on the planet right now.
Yeah.
We're not immune as Americans. Canada is not immune. No country.
We're feeling it a lot. We're feeling it a lot up here in Canada right now. The right side of the message, like even in the smallest local news website, you read an article where some, you know, catch and release criminal gets busted for stealing a car and going on a joyride yet again. And the comment section instantly devolves into, well, if it wasn't for the lefty blah, blah and whatnot, and it's instant. And these right-wing hard right influences are being pushed from every little angle, man. Everywhere you look and turn, there's something. Stickers on the back of stop signs and so on. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's we have to fight. Moldova showed us how, and we just have to learn. We have to adapt, or Russia is going to destroy us.
Yeah.
We have some fun. Commander, anything on Moldova?
Not that you haven't already covered. I think it's a significant outcome. I think it shows that, you know, canny campaigning and an electorate that is given clear information on what's going on from the other side will make the right choice. And I think that's one of the problems we have here in the U.S. is that, you know, everybody screams about, oh, the liberal media bias, except almost all the mainstream news channels are right-leaning.
If you're one of those people that think, oh, well, it's just Fox. Oh,
it's not.
Yeah.
It's more than that. It's, you know, ABC, CBS, NBC. Those are all leaning to the right now. And in large part, it's because they're terrified that the current administration may just shut them down if it disagrees with them.
You got to remember, it was back in the early days of CNN when the stock market realized news was profitable, and ABC, NBC, blah, blah, and whatnot are all owned by corporate overlords that only care about money now, right?
Yep.
So, you know,
the oligarchs control the media, therefore the media puts out the message that benefits the oligarchs most.
Yeah. You know, it's getting pretty tough. I mean, quite often I find myself, okay, there's a headline. 2 minutes in, I'm like, oh, there's a real slant there. And, you know.
So
I'm sure oligarchs. I'm sorry.
no, I was going to say, I think that's one of the takeaways from Moldova is that when you have a fair and unbiased media system that can get the message out, people will make intelligent choices. But when they're constantly fed a diet of hate and fear, guess which way they're going to vote?
Yeah. Exactly.
I hope that oligarchs are seeing that democracy is more profitable for them than a dictatorship, which it always is. But in history, they do make that mistakes. They do side with the dictatorship. For example, in 1930s, a bunch of oligarchs in Germany, they backed Hitler because he promised them good major profits and everything. He showed them, listen, we can build things, we can be a good profitable country, which to a point he delivered, and then he destroyed them, he killed them.
Part of the issue is that the industrialists all control him. They wrote him off this country bumpkin who didn't know anything, and we can keep him in his little corner and use him as we want. And very quickly they found out that they had completely underestimated what he would do to maintain his power over them.
Yeah. Very much so.
Power has to be balanced. Once it's unbalanced.
And I suspect that's kind of what's going on here, because we have, all the oligarchy, the super rich, are convinced that, oh yeah, Trump's doing our bidding. Project 2025 is getting enacted right now. But you start hearing some of the stuff he's saying, and he's pointing the finger at, occasional members of that oligarchy. That's the, proverbial handwriting on the wall, letting them know maybe you made a mistake. But, in their case, these are people who are more likely to double down than to fold.
Yeah.
The way it always,
Well, historically, the rich, the proper rich, have been playing this for so long it's not funny. Go back in history, the big fall of Constantinople. It was no time before the docks were open and commerce was running.
The way it always works in what's the opposite of democracy? I see. I had it. You stumbled me, Mr. Dawson.
Bummer. Oops.
The way it always works in a totalitarian regime, let's use that word, is they do start fighting with the opposition. Like Trump is calling out those bad oligarchs. But eventually opposition is running out, or they turn to the good side, and the persecution doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop. They gonna continue persecute the good guys. That's what happened in Nazi. The good guys, I mean the loyalists to the totalitarian, to the dictatorship. So that's the word I was looking for, by the way.
Yeah.
So and they always act confused. They were supposed to attack the bad guys. I was loyal, I was saying all the good stuff, but they ran out of bad guys. And they're not just gonna stop. They're gonna keep doing it until the regime is still standing. And it works on every level. Like small people, they're like, oh, we're gonna be loyal to Nazi, or in Soviet Union, it was to Stalin, to Soviet Party. They ran out of those disloyal counter-revolutionaries very quickly. And they continued persecuting people for 70 more years. It was just random people just going to work and not knowing if they'll come back home, if they'll see their family again.
Yeah.
That's on a lower level. But on a higher level, you're a director of a factory, you're saying all the right things, you're supporting, you're crying when Stalin is giving his speech. And then next day they come for you and you're writing a letter from prison, which is never going to be delivered. there has been a horrible mistake. Yeah, the mistake was when you didn't fight for democracy when you had a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you seen the movie Death of Stalin? If you notice the scenes where Beria is walking around in Lubyanka prison, the KGB headquarters, as they're executing people, the last words they're cheering are, "Long live Comrade Stalin." The very guy that put you on the list that got you executed, you're praising him even as you're being killed by him.
Wow.
That's the kind of cult mentality we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And I keep hearing people use the term Night of the Long Knives. I think they either misunderstand or misrepresent what that was in Nazi Germany. It's the internal purge of the Nazi Party of people who were potential rivals to Hitler. It's not purging people who are not part of the party. And that's something that I'm sure is coming in the GOP MAGA world at some point, but it hasn't happened yet because they're still under greater threat from the external opponents.
Yeah, they don't have enough.
Once they have the external opponents cowed with military training missions in cities and other things like that, then you're going to see the stage set for a Night of the Long Knives kind of scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, he just needs to, get a little bit more of a grip on some of those "they didn't vote for me" areas, and then.
Well, I mean, I was reading something in the news earlier, and you have a situation where ICE fast roped people out of helicopters onto the top of buildings in Chicago. They went in, broke down doors, dragged people out in their night clothes or naked.
Yeah.
Tied them up in the street, and almost all of them were American citizens. But, and that's the whole thing. This is all about optics. It's about sowing fear amongst the opponents of the regime.
Mm-hmm.
It's making people think if you start criticizing, we're coming for you next.
Yeah. On that note, we should point out it's Kristen McCall gave us a heads up there in the chat just a minute ago, but I do believe it's October 18th, big American protest day. So be there or be square, and I really mean that. Get yourself out. I mean, even if you're just, you're not going to a big march, but you're just sitting on your front lawn with a "No Kings" sign or whatever, having a drink. You know what I mean? Just make yourself seen, right?
Very much
Definitely. So. Mr. Dia, we're still pulling some resources for that car to Ukraine.
Yes. Yes, we should give a shout out here on the Car for Ukraine fundraiser. We got ourselves up to 500 euros donated on behalf of the Shills here. So yes, big shout to everybody involved. Let me just, without being nauseating, scroll to the bottom. So Joe Medley was one of our latest donators. We also have Jeremy Colberth in the donation category there. Silver Earth together, and I can barely even read it. I should have sized it up. Together to Priamora. Okay. I changed my setup a bit, and my screens are just a tiny bit too far away, and this prescription isn't quite right, but I didn't have time to really fix everything. So, yeah. Sorry about that. Big shout out, Silver Earth. That was a 104 euro donation on the Shills' behalf.
Very
there.
Nice.
So, yes. Very cool. Thank you. Yes, together to victory. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
I know Ukrainians never thank you, but, let me be the first. Joke.
Well, the ones that wear suits are always thankful. I'm just kidding.
The Russians, they have nice suits always, the very nice suits, except for that time when he wore that USSR T-shirt to Alaska,
Yeah.
that Minister of Foreign Affairs. What a bitch.
Yeah. I always find with Russians, when you want to really check out their suit, like, to see the button or maybe the tie clip or something, it's hard to get a good view when they're falling from the window because you only have so long until they hit the ground, right? So I find that difficult, but,
That's a good point. Don't you know
So-
the devil wears the suit and tie? Always remember the good songs, the good rock and roll and blues.
Cool.
That's where you go for truth.
Amen.
Russia is burning. Russia is burning. Ukraine is delivering. In Nizhny Novgorod, that's a million people city.
Mm.
The school buses did not run due to gasoline shortage. Everybody's wondering what's happening. It's reported that here's how Russia works. Private gas stations, it's 67% of all the gas stations. And the government gas stations are the remaining 33%. So like 2/3 is private, 1/3 is government. The private gas stations have not been receiving gasoline in over 3 weeks now. So they don't have any gasoline. The only gasoline is at them.
I wonder what could possibly be the reason.
I'm just like that squirrel. I have no freaking clue. Maybe Commander Macmillan is more up on the current events. And basically, that's why you see those lanes, the huge lines for gas, because the gas is still, you can still buy it. But why are the lines? Is because it's only at those specified government gas station would they directly control, and they can resupply, but they don't resupply it in full in the way it's needed. Sometimes they only serve gasoline to medical, fire, or military personnel.
Wow.
So they don't even sell to regular folks. Sometimes they limit or ration gasoline. We've heard rations like 2 liters per car. That's just enough to drive you home. A lot of
that's just enough fuel so that you can get home and realize you now need to go and get gas again.
Stand back in the line, then go home, then go back to the line.
At some point, you have to start walking back and forth.
Yeah, just carry a jerry can back 6 or 7 times until you have a tank full and you can, actually do something.
Yep. That's what's happening. Commander?
I was going to say, one of the things I noted in Institute for Study of Warfare's update this week is they went back and they said, starting in the winter or autumn of 2023, the Russians have been trying to put together these large reserve forces so they could mount credible major offensives.
Mm.
And those reserves were constantly being depleted by them having to send in forces to counterattack and regain ground, particularly up in the Kursk area, because that was, a huge public opinion failure on the part of the Russians, that they lost some of the Holy Motherland.
Mm.
So one of the things they pointed out is this has had a major impact on what we've seen going on this year, carrying that through that long, that they haven't been able to put together enough reserves to mount a significant major offensive because of all these depletions that keep occurring.
Right.
They also note that in the areas where they are committing what they have of reserves, they are taking horrendous losses with them and only achieving fairly minor tactical gains. And one thing I thought was really interesting is ISW pointed out they have not achieved any significant operational gains pretty much since the first year of the war. And to put that in perspective, tactical gain is I took the house next door. An operational gain is I took the city 80 miles away.
Right.
And they haven't been able to achieve that. And at the same time, they've depleted all these reserves, massive losses.
Right.
The equipment has gone to the point that what we're seeing now, when they do mount offensives, it's without tanks, without armored personnel carriers or IF infantry fighting vehicles. They're primarily, all troops are on foot or they're on motorbikes.
Yeah.
And
if they're lucky, a donkey.
Yeah, but one of the things I thought was interesting, one of the commanders, a Ukrainian commander who was being interviewed, said the last time they saw the Russians try something major, it included no tanks or any of the other stuff. It was 120 motorcycles, each with 2 guys riding on it. So it's 240 troops, and they said, he said, I would be surprised if more than 10 to 15 of them actually got to their, attack area.
Right.
Where they were slaughtered trying to approach the front. But he also pointed out that the increasing use of drones has pretty much mitigated anybody being able to stage a large offensive. You can't bring large numbers of troops together. You can't bring vehicles together because the drones immediately alert to the fact that this congregation is occurring, and then they hit them with the drones and artillery strikes directed by drones.
Right.
So what you're typically seeing is 1 or 2 guys infiltrating individually or in pairs across the line to take up positions behind the line and then attack from the opposite direction that they're expected.
Yeah, I've heard that more than a couple times now. Yeah.
And part of that is being achieved by the soldiers not being in uniform. They're donning civilian clothes. And the Ukrainians, because they're exercising truly professional military rules of engagement, aren't shooting what they see as civilians.
Right.
So these guys are able to wander through and take up position. And another thing that was noted is that most of the people who are still resident in these cities or towns that you hear being focuses of attack, they're Russian sympathizers. Most of the Ukrainians have been evacuated. The ones who stayed behind the interview.
Right.
Says most of the people who stay behind are Russian sympathizers who are, when they see Russian soldiers, inviting them into their homes to take a rest, hide out until more of them congregate. So they're actually actively facilitating Russian offensive efforts.
Yeah, they're not. It's not the New Yorker trying to sneak through the Congo here. This is, very right.
Yeah. So what it's highlighting is the fact that the nature of the war is changing significantly, in large part due to the drones.
Yeah.
So
it's unbelievable the difference in the reporting and the news and the drones and the way things are going in this conflict invasion versus anything I've ever heard before. It's it's like Silicon Valley really got their time in the technology is originally drones, military, super expensive, blah, blah, all this kind of stuff. And all that super
now
expensive.
It's literally run down to Radio Shack and a little drone.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I never would have guessed this in my life, never. Yeah. But it makes so much sense when you
put this in juxtaposition to Hegseth speech about, the warrior ethos and we don't want fat soldiers anymore.
Yeah. Who cares if they're keyboard warriors now? Who gives
exactly. If you can fly a drone, honestly, you could be a paraplegic in a wheelchair. You're still an effective, combat.
Well,
resource.
I mean, if you can pay a good pilot in Pepsi and Doritos, why not?
True. But that's my point is I think it highlights the fact that Hegseth and by extension Trump are completely out of touch with the modern reality of the battlefield.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. It's a joke.
To put some quick facts out there, the first use of drone in a combat was by Ukrainian soldier. I don't have his name right now, but he's famous now just for that. He came up with this idea. It was June 10, 1922. And when they did that, they just had a Mavic 3 drone. They attached a grenade to it. So when it would fall, the pin would pull out and the grenade would fall freely and would just drop to the battlefield and possibly ruin some orc's life or day. So Russians were laughing at this. They were like, stupid Ukrainians, they don't have artillery. And so eventually when Ukrainians don't have enough people, they don't have enough anything else, so we have to come up with these tactics just because we have to reinvent the modern battlefield to survive. If we don't push back, there is no more Ukraine. And eventually Russians, like their whole regiment started dying to these drones, and they realized the importance of this. And so it's now a battle like from both sides. Russia is,
Yeah, this is it's like the early days of home computing right now, and there's constant advancement and big leaps and strategic and new use and whatnot. I mean, it's crazy and I imagine like there's quite a bit that we still don't even hear about and stuff and cool new thingies and stuff. So, very, very impressive. The ingenuity, the resourcefulness, the technical know-how, the integration into new strategy and stuff that Ukraine has really shown what's possible. Oh, wow.
And the way this war works is kind of a big visual of difference between democracy versus a dictatorship. Because at first, a lot of Russians at first, Russia was like really big. They amassed all this equipment. They went and they started killing a lot of Ukrainians. So Ukrainians started using their ingenuity, and different mom and pop shops started producing these drones, and they started sending them back. So a lot of Russians died. So Russia, as a dictatorship, they saw the usefulness of drones, and they said, we're gonna outcompete Ukraine. We're gonna do mass production. We're gonna put might of industrial military complex behind our drone production. We're gonna crush Ukraine. And all those drones, so Russia started producing them around the clock. They started sourcing chips from China, but the situation on the battlefield changed again, and Russia could not adapt. So all those drones were basically a dead weight because they could not fly, because of all the anti-radar defenses that were evolving at the same time. So both Russia and Ukraine were developing this like a skillet-looking things that you just point in the direction of a drone, and that drone just falls down. And then because Ukraine it's like this person with his uncle and his dad, they're creating this drone, and the other companies creating this drone, just two friends that came up with this idea. So they're creating all this. So this shows the innovation and the free market outcompeting the way.
Absolutely. When people are free to think and innovate and experiment and stuff, the advancements are thick and fast versus, the regime, right?
So this situation has changed a number of times. There was a quantum leap in technology. Like right now, it's fiber optic cable is the only thing that can fly those drones. So, and again, it's just that little advantage that Ukraine has on being fast, kind of dynamic in their innovation and implementation. They're not waiting for Putin to tell them to start building a factory. They're just doing it, trying it out, seeing what works, and volunteering. Like a lot of it is volunteer work, like the car for Ukraine that we're doing right now. That's what Russia cannot account for. The thing that just regular people are doing, that throws all the balance off. Everything that Russia was planning for, this car for Ukraine is going to demolish those plans. That's how Ukraine works. That's how this war works. That's really, I think that's a beauty. If you want to find beauty in this war, that's a great example of it.
Yeah, agreed. And there's a reminder for the Car for Ukraine fundraiser. And the link is in the live chat. It's also in the description. And I just realized that this is something I should be saying during this moment. If you're one of those people who are watching on like an Amazon Fire Stick or some Android TV thing, and you try to get to the description and realize that you can't click them because insert stupid ass YouTube, why can't they get something right comment here? All you have to do is go on your web browser to Ukraine.com. You'll find the fundraisers. It's called the Autumn Harvest, as you can see on your screen. You'll see our green logo. You can click in. You can click directly just to donate to the fundraiser. It doesn't even have to be on behalf of the channel. To be honest, we don't care as long as we're getting the donations into Car for Ukraine. But, yeah. So carforukraine.com, car4ukraine.com.
It's the same number of clicks if you want to do it from the Shills channel or just to the car. We only care that you do it. But, if you want to show your love and support for the Shills, might as well kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to click our link. So, that is a true fact.
Russians are doing the Russian thing. Like, this is the most Russia is just returning to its roots. They're now siphoning gasoline from any parked cars.
They're just rampant, out of control teenagers, man.
Yeah, but some of them are 59 years old, some of those teenagers. It's theft, stealing. So these people, some of them, they resell this gasoline on black market for huge profits because, there's a shortage of gasoline. What are you going to do? At times like this, that's when black markets thrive. When we had, we couldn't sell alcohol, right? That's when people started finding ways to have alcohol, right?
Yeah.
And so Russians that's a Russian ingenuity and innovation. While Ukrainians are making new drones, Russians are innovating in ways of supplying a market with a demand for gasoline. Okay. Is right.
Yeah. Sorry, I was typing something at the same time. So had I spoken, I would have said what I was typing, I bet.
In all of this, we all know we should cheer for our guy Maxim Kalashnikov. He's a Russian mill blogger, which we all know and love. So Russian mill bloggers are very patriotic. They're very optimistic. Ukraine is not a real country. They're gonna fall any day now. Russia is the greatest country. United States is evil. Jews and whatnot. He doesn't have as much optimism lately. He came up with this post that he shared on his Telegram channel, and he'd done two of them in a row. In one post, he admitted that Russia lost 17% of its oil refining capacity, and one of them, he said 13% of oil refining capacity he admitted to. Yeah. Which guys do you think it is? Is it 17 or 13? Which one are we going to try?
They're admitting to.
Right.
Yeah.
The estimates are that it's noteworthily higher.
Yeah. Here, let's put it to the Shills honesty meter. We have secret technology, so we can suss this out for you, the viewer.
Use the technology.
There you go, folks. There's no denying the Shills lie detector test.
Mr. D, you know we're gonna get in trouble for all these shenanigans when Slavy is back, right?
I usually get in trouble for something from somebody. I'm used to it.
You better get all these shenanigans under control. So as he was doing that, so actually it's probably 17 plus 13. He was being semi-honest there. So he was very sad, and he was talking about systematic campaign aimed at Russia's economic shattering. I can state that the situation is deteriorating. The fuel crisis is developing now. The voices of those who say that we have to switch to Russian consumptions using coupons, basically fuel cards, are becoming louder and louder. So part of his job, part of Maxim Kalashnikov's job, is to prepare public for inevitable shitstorm, right?
Yeah.
No other way to put it. So when he says it, he tries to make a good face about it. He's like saying it kind of matter of factly. So we can see that Ukraine has been hitting. It's been so yeah. It's we're moving towards the rationing. It's probably going to be fuel cards, which is expected. It's kind of according to plan. That's kind of the face that he's putting to this. But Russians are being prepared to kind of live like this now. This is the norm for them.
Yeah. You are all going to pay because a few complete asshats up at the top can't let go of the old USSR empire.
Yeah, they're not going to let go. We can see that in Moldova. We can see that in Czech Republic. They do have gains. They do have some victories. They cannot win on a battlefield against Ukraine. They will never win in Ukraine.
Doesn't look like it.
But they are winning in information space. They are so effective about any kind of democratic institutions that we have built so far. And we can it's not to say that democracy is not superior to dictatorship. It is, but we have to adapt. We have to adapt to the current risks.
You got to keep up the message, the whole 9 yards. I'm going to jump in here with a few shout outs and stuff. So we got Yvonne Way come in with the super sticker, and it's the little hippo dude doing the, looks like the big wheel spinning Roadrunner run thing. Super thanks there, Yvonne Way. Thank you very much. We had Niles Knudsen coming in, gifting out memberships. Oh, yeah. Here, let's get Mario bouncing, shall we? And I'm not sure who he gifted the memberships to because it's long past in the live chat. But remember, if you are the last gifted membership on the channel today, you get the honor of receiving today's bar tab. Send us your address and we'll get it right out to you. And then generic username came in with a super chat as well. So big hearts and some applause for generic username as well. So big thanks to everybody, and I will check on the Car for Ukraine fundraiser after a little bit more chatter to see if we have any announcements there as well. We do have a few questions in from the viewers, and it was only just in the last few minutes in the background there that it was finally realized, well, Slavy usually does questions, and so I'm going to catch us up on a couple just to make sure we don't fall too far behind. So it wasn't me in the chat is asking Commander McMillan here. I haven't heard much of the Ukrainian flamingo lately. Anything that you've heard? Any thoughts? I think it has everything to do with manufacture and ramping up and getting ready right now.
Yeah, I have not heard anything about it either. It's important to remember that a lot of the newer big end spectacular Russian military hardware is designed as a showpiece. They only produce a tiny number of them and then shut down production very quickly because it's so expensive. So Flamingo, maybe in that kind of nebulous zone of they produced a dozen and they take them to all the trade shows and try to get foreign buyers for it or whatever.
Oh no, they mean that new Ukrainian the one with the jet on top, I believe, there, Commander. You know,
I thought he was talking about the new Russian system. I forgot the name.
Yeah.
The Flamingo, if it's the Ukrainian system he's referring to, yeah, as far as I know, they're working to get it deployed, but that would be something I'm sure that they're keeping under wraps so that, people don't know all the details about when and how many and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I saw a thing just in the last 48 hours, maybe. It might have been United 24. I'm not 100% sure, but they were speaking about the ramp up in manufacture and the expected monthly results of manufacture in no time here. We're only talking about a short little into the future. Does sound promising. I can't remember what all of the specifics are, so I don't want to screw up, but I heard promising, and I didn't see it as hopeful. It was more truthful in the delivery. So I hope, you know,
it's a good system. I don't think it's going to be like so many other things that
game changer.
The game changer. Oh, they're getting Patriot. Oh, they're getting Attackums. Whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be a game changer. No, it's an incremental little something.
Yeah, every bit helps.
Being able to have more ordnance that you can fling farther afield to hit targets deeper inside Russia to destroy the military's capacity to move logistics, to support forces at the front. That's going to be a huge thing.
Yeah. Couple others here.
Is it okay if I express a little different? I actually think it is a game changer, and it is going to be the end of Russia, this Flamingo missile. And there is only one confirmed attack of Flamingo missile on that FSB facility in Crimea. So we didn't have any more confirmed attacks. It's true that it was only one, but the biggest impact that Flamingo missile had was in the information space. And that had a lot of movements on the Russian side where they had to move their most precious assets farther back. They had to react to the presence of a Flamingo missile just in theory. Like even if it was only one strike, Russia already had to do a lot of things. They had to rewrite the whole board, basically, of everything that they're doing. Because
it fits in right there. The thing I saw on this also mentioned Flamingo might not be defensive enough, and it's going to need a little like support fly help, maybe dummy target. There was mention of that kind of strategic help maybe needed for it, but it was very much open-ended, as if it was an open question and it wasn't answered. So I just wanted to put that in because that could affect usage and stuff as well. But
definitely. And also we have to remember that during that one successful strike of Flamingo, that were 3 Flamingo missiles used. One of them got lost of the radar. One of them hit off of the target completely, and only one of them actually hit the target perfectly, which was a successful strike. So there is still some bugs being worked out. Obviously, Ukraine doesn't want to be a perpetrator of war crimes or anything like that. And as we know, a lot of these strikes are happening in like heavily populated areas where the refineries are, because that's where people work. So when we're going to use, I know that they're trying to change the engine of this rocket, because the engine that is there right now, there's some shortcomings of it. I'm not very technical on that. So it is being worked out. We are going to see more of Flamingo. I'm very hopeful, very optimistic. I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, no, it's a good system, and it will, have an impact. But again, I don't think this is going to be as major as you think it is. I agree that the psychological impact on the Russians is going to be huge, but we've seen this as kind of an incremental growth of all the things that get provided to the Ukrainian armed forces. So, we give them M777 howitzers, which increase the range, and the Russians have to pull back command and logistic points. Mm-hmm. Then we give them, Caesar, and then we give them ATACMS, and we just keep extending the range further, and the Russians keep pulling things back further and further. The one thing that I haven't seen mention of is that as the Russians pull these, command centers and logistic centers further from the front, and the difficulty that means in getting orders and supplies to the front, it also presents an issue because the Russians are going to have to start pulling back their air defense assets to protect those centers. And the farther they get from the front, the less capability the Russians will have to protect their troops on the front line from tactical airstrikes by the Ukrainian Air Force.
Right. That works out to be, that's an area of effectiveness then for sure.
Yeah,
exactly.
It'd be a big deal.
Yeah. A couple more here. Sarah asks, any chatter on the Czech election and how this could possibly affect the EU?
Russia.
Johnny talked about that earlier.
Yeah. I do want to throw in, it's starting. Things like this are just starting to get more and more grumble about the true effectiveness of the EU. But yeah, and you could say NATO, UN, blah blah. I think the sentiment should never be to give up on these things and to make sure that we fight to keep them, even expand them, because together is better than apart. But yeah.
Russia is going to keep ravaging any democracy, like I said. They're doing this right here in the United States. I mean, Kash Patel has been paid money to spew Russian propaganda for years, and that's partially why he was selected. He's a director of FBI right now. The head of our intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has been spewing Russian propaganda for years.
Yeah,
and that now she's the head of our national intelligence. Trump stopped our cyber warfare. Well, we had the cyber counter warfare for the Russian operations. Trump stopped it. Like, I don't want to be enemy of Russia. I want to show them goodwill, good faith. So we're gonna stop all their cyber interference into United States, which leaves us defenseless. We're completely defenseless right now. Like, before you start worrying about Czech Republic, worry about United States, because we are completely ravaged by Russia right now.
Speaking of the United States, here's a good one. Any effect foreseen for now and in the immediate future here with the American government shutdown and any weapons transfers and stuff, and gubbins that are supposed to be going to Ukraine right now? I would think that all but stops unless there's active military involved in helping, because they'll still be doing their thing, and a few other branches. Commander, any thoughts there?
Yeah, it will have potentially an impact, but how much that is will depend on how long the government is shut down for.
Yeah.
The thing that gets me is the longer they stay shut down, the more impact it's going to have on the personnel in the armed forces, because they're not getting paid.
Yeah.
And at some point, when your troops aren't getting paid, they get angry and bad things begin to happen.
I was only expecting to hear that. I can't imagine. Is there any, like, I know the hard righties are obviously going to buy the BS that this shutdown is the fault of the Democrats, but there's got to be more and more people who voted Republican thinking to themselves, I can honestly see that you're the ones doing this.
They are hard selling it's all the Democrats' fault line right now.
Yeah.
But from most appearances, it seems that it's not taking effect among virtually any group of voters.
Yeah.
Except, the extreme cultists. And I would suspect that as time goes on and they're going to be impacted by the shutdown too, then their loyalty will begin to waver.
Yeah.
And couple that with the whole Epstein file thing, which is also having deep impact amongst the MAGA set and the conservative GOP voters. All of this just shows how quickly the support for the administration is
eroding. Yeah.
So the thing about, we're going to use the American cities to train the military and urban operations by acting against these, radical lefties and everything. That may backfire on them.
Mm-hmm.
Because, when people start seeing scenes of our military being used against our own populace, and specifically our own populace who are not possible undocumented aliens, there's going to be a lot of pushback.
You got that one guy, he's been picked up by ICE twice on the job, and he's like, just, full on lawsuit now. Like, what's going on here,
Yeah. And that's, I think, the important element that's not registering in the minds of the administration.
Yeah.
Is that all of these things taken together are going to start having an impact. And when that happens, the first thing that any government does is looks for distractions.
Yeah.
Now, they've been trying to throw all these distractions and none of them are taking effect. But the first thing that most governments do to try to fix that kind of situation is look for a big foreign war.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I say that at the same time as having noted the movement of U.S. air assets from CONUS to overseas stations throughout the Middle East and Europe.
Yeah. I saw a thing on this
Yep. So, tanker assets were the first ones to go, and it was very unusual because they were going to places that tankers don't usually go. And to explain to your audience, tankers are used to facilitate the movement of shorter ranged aircraft. They fly out, meet with those aircraft as they're coming across the Atlantic or whatever, refuel them so they can make the whole flight to wherever they're going.
Right.
So if you were looking to, I don't know, we've seen mention of trying to reopen Bagram airfield in Afghanistan. If you were going to stage a major operation to drop U.S. airborne troops in to get the airfield, that's the kind of thing you would do in preparation for it.
Right. And you would know.
I'm saying that's what's going on. It could be they're just staging these aircraft for training purposes.
Right.
But the number of them in the unusual places they've been sending them, in addition to other combat aircraft that are now being moved.
Right.
It's suggestive that there's at least some thought being given to how can we distract the public.
Right. And for those that are, if you don't know, Commander McMillan, retired U.S. Navy, logistics. this is something that he would know inside and out, backwards and forwards, because he's lived it and done it. So,
So anyway, that's the kind of thing I'm seeing going on. And when you try to project forward what kind of actions you would expect from a government that's under this kind of pressure because of their complete failure to deliver on what most people expect to be delivered by government, yeah, they're going to start getting desperate at some point.
I want to jump in quick. We're going to have to end a little earlier than normal today. My son, normally I'm like ordering his pizza right before we go live, because he comes home Saturday morning from a visit with his mom and grandma for 2 nights. And he didn't come home this morning, blah, blah, yada, yada. And it turns out that he wasn't happy about not getting home on time. He's definitely wants to be home. He's a little bit escalated and stuff. And today's not a day I can just say, hey, bud, head upstairs and play on the computer and I'll see you in half an hour when we're done the show. I am going to need to be on parenting duty as soon as he walks in the door. So we've got about 15 minutes from this moment to get ourselves into go mode. So I want to jump in with one more question that's in the room here. Gen Consensus there in the chat. Commander McMillan, how come Europe has no drone detection and no drone defense? This war has been going on, we're coming up on 4 years now. Is anybody even considering the fact that this should be on the table?
They are. The Article 4 was invoked by, Article 4 of the NATO Charter was invoked by Poland and subsequently a few days later by Estonia after Poland got, I think it was 17 Russian drones crossing its border.
Yeah.
And then Estonia had like a half dozen Russian aircraft skirting the edge of their territorial waters and such. One of the main topics of discussion was the ability to stop drones from approaching into European airspace. They have a limited ability now, but it's because nobody have really been paying attention. They've, I think, sort of viewed all this as tactical, and everybody's hoping the war will not expand outside of Ukraine. But the Article 4 meeting, one of the things that came out of that meeting is that they're going to put in place, they called an anti-drone wall. It's a metaphysical wall, not an actual,
not a Trump wall.
Yeah, not a Trump wall. But, it's a series of detection systems and anti-drone weapon systems and such. But the estimate was that it would take a year before they could even start putting that thing in place. So they're doing some of that right now around major cities that are the most exposed, but it's not going to be a wall that watches the whole eastern border of NATO for quite a while. It's a major undertaking.
Yeah. Okay, it makes sense. I mean, and I guess when it's not an instant, we need it right now, you might as well go through the planning, and you've got communication between different people and coordination and all that. So definitely wouldn't be quick. I mean, bureaucracy's never quick, right? Yeah. Let's see here. Where should we, Johnny, is there anything you wanted to get in news-wise or discussion-wise before we're in our wrap-up mode here?
I have a few newsworthy articles. We can shoot through them really quick and finish the stream strong. Yeah. If you guys want to chime in on some of this, Russia has started reassigning. Oh, I think Commander McMillan is going to love this. They started reassigning the air defense specialists to infantry. They don't have air defense missiles or rockets enough. Supposedly only there's just 1 or 2 missiles for every 6 vehicles. So, and these people basically they're highly trained personnel. You know, if you guys have seen a book machine, it's like if I tell you you have a year to figure out how to fire a missile from here, you're never gonna figure it out. It's just impossible. Maybe if you're a Commander Macmillan, but a regular person cannot do it. And they're just giving a rusty AK and sent to the front line. They're not needed anymore.
It's worth noting that air defense systems that you're mentioning here, when a Russian conscript is assigned out of basic training to wherever he's going, normally you only have 1 year of commitment service. Those who go into air defense get 2 years because they have to go through all the training courses to learn how to operate those systems. Now, another thing that's historically noteworthy is that stripping troops out of air defenses to reinforce your infantry assets has a lot of historical precedent. The US and Britain did it during World War II when infantry losses at the front had gotten so high, they just needed people. So they started taking them out of anti-aircraft units. And there were places where entire battalions or regiments of, anti-aircraft guns were just parked in a field somewhere,
right?
Because all the troops had been sent to the front lines as infantry. Now, we could get away with that at the end of the war when it became an issue. The German Luftwaffe had essentially ceased to exist.
Right.
But I think the Russians are getting desperate because everything that they're focused on is about gaining ground. And rather than changing their tactics, they're just throwing more bodies at the problem in hopes that eventually it will achieve the breakthrough they hope for.
We have a picture of inside of the Buk anti-air missile system, and it's not as easy to figure out. It's not just one button. It's not intuitive at all. It's not easy to do this. People. Yeah.
Can I just say that the interior of the astronaut capsule on a Saturn V looked more modern than that?
Possibly. But this is a highly specialized equipment, and it takes very highly trained personnel to do anything with it.
Yeah.
To get it started, to get it going, to just anything, to do anything with it. And they're just gonna lose those people in the fire of war. We have so Russia is trying to close off itself more and more right now. A lot of the strikes on the refinery capacity are being kept under wraps. Any people who are making videos or photos are being visited by FSB and put in jail. But we have lots of videos and pictures of Yaroslavl oil refinery burning this week because it's just in such a highly populated area.
Yeah.
And Russians, they just cannot resist. They film it, they put it, stream it to TikToks, to whatever for views.
Yeah, there's many views of it, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. Gasoline output falls 1 million tons per day for Russia. This is devastating. And this is just ridiculous. I don't know, it's funny or whatnot. Russia announced they're going to import gasoline from Asia, as 40% of oil refining capacity are shut down, according to one source, 38 to another. So they're gonna start buying gasoline from China. What do you guys think? That's good news, right?
Well,
cooperation between the two closest friends.
I want to add to that. I'm very much into automotive stuff, cars, vehicles, blah, blah. And I would also have to guess, although I don't actually know this as a fact, but I'm pretty sure I'm onto something, that the average Russian car is nowhere near as efficient as what the average North American is driving right now in liters per whatever distance traveled or miles per gallon. Yeah, exactly. So any shortage hits them even harder than you're thinking right now in your Western head. That's my belief. And I bet I'm, at least sort of correct.
Yeah.
I don't think the Lotto was designed with good mileage in mind.
Exactly.
Well, Russians, they do drive Chinese cars. They drive whatever they can get imported into Russia. They're very prideful if they can find non-Russian car. So they are very proud of their automotive industry. In speeches, they say, "Oh, we have like greatest cars." But if they buy a non-Russian car, that's another point of pride for a Russian. So they do have like Chinese cars and stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
Russia did strike Chernobyl atomic facilities and also the dome that's covering block number 4. They punctured the block number 4, and there was some work done to kind of reseal it. That's, what do you call that? International terrorism, like global catastrophe.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how much worse can it get?
Don't the prevailing winds from Chernobyl blow into Belarus and Russia more than they do towards Europe or Ukraine?
You forget that God is on Russia's side,
So he'll change the wind direction. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Evil Europe, evil USA. It's going to fly high over United States all the way to Alaska to USA. That's how
God backs Moses's play to get the people out and doing something a little more enjoyable than just being but yeah, he's going to back the Russian play on this one. Yeah. I don't think God gets drunk on Sunday, and this isn't Sunday, so I really don't see that one.
I also see this like a tactic to pull Russia out of isolation, so to speak, because after Alaska, they haven't been able to kind of enter the civilized society in full like they were hoping for. And they do view this as an opportunity to start entering international conventions, peace talks, being invited to Europe to start talking about ceasing this activity. Please don't kill the whole Europe with your silly things. So that's one of those. Maybe you guys have different takes as well, but it's definitely one of the tactics that they're trying to employ.
Absolutely. The tactics are just all over the map right now. Any single place they can get anyone to listen, anyone to take it and go, I like that anger, I'm going to run with that too. And just be, hillbilly dumb enough, insert your local uneducated idiot phrase there, right? We're just on our limits here. Sorry, Johnny, we're just on our limits here because I'm getting updates text-wise as we go here, and I've only got a couple minutes now. So let's go to Commander here. Thoughts and wrap-ups? Anything you want to,
Nothing particular. I think most of what I would say has to do with, watching things domestically rather than in Ukraine at this moment. When things are getting bad, you pay attention to things that are closer to home than over there.
Yeah.
Again, my usual reminder and urging people, please communicate with your elected officials. Emails, texts, letters, phone calls, all of that has an impact.
Yes.
Even if your elected officials are from the red side, they still will make note of growing numbers, and it will have an impact. So please, I urge everybody, at least once a week, send one out to both your senators and your representative.
Good words, man. Good words. Couldn't agree more. Johnny, what do you think there, buddy?
I would second Commander McMillan's message. Take care of your home. Ukraine is interested in United States being democratic, in being united, in being peaceful, in having prosperity. Russia is interested in United States and other nations around the world to be dictators, to be divided, to be busy with their own things, that they cannot look elsewhere and see who else they might be helping or where else the threat might be coming from. So, let's take care of our home so we can help Ukraine.
Well said, man. Well said. Check Johnny out on his channel on YouTube at Young Ukrainians. Links in the description as well as the live chat as well. Head over and sub. He does some really cool man on the street stuff, talking to people locally and whatnot. It's really good. You'll like it very much. Huge shout out to our team here. We got Mexi Girl today on the Shills account. We got Shayna Caldwell, David Worley, Chris Lundy, Liam Wakefield, Jose, Janine Turblanche is in, and then Super Chat Matt as well. So big shout out to the team. I mean, they make sure we're doing our Super Chat shout outs. Hello, jerk off thing. There we go. Gathering the questions, moderating the chat, all kinds of stuff. Huge, helpful team. Big thanks, everybody. And huge thanks to everybody donating and supporting our causes and whatnot here. We've got our Car for Ukraine fundraiser going. Let's get the link in the chat for you. If you can't click the link because you're on one of those stupid devices that YouTube deems unworthy to click links in the description and stuff, just go to car4Ukraine.com. You'll find it easy. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks for the support. Thanks for showing up on the channel to watch us. Remember to hit like, share, and subscribe. And a huge shout, as always, to all our members, super chatters, and supporters, because it means everything to us. On that note, Slava Ukraine.
Героям слава.
Well said.
It's over. Go home. Go.